To some, this moment is seen as a betrayal of the character and their journey. All of the death and sacrifice that can be followed like a trail to this foggy beach. It all means nothing now. What was one more body on a pile that would peak above the clouds? A final, most disrespectful act against the audience, the ones who have been sitting at the edges of their seat, foaming at the mouth for a chance at a violent retribution. But this was never about revenge. This was about hatred, guilt, and forgiveness. Before we truly begin, I'd like to first say that if you take issue with this game or the way in which it concludes, you have my full respect. This isn't me saying everyone who thinks differently than I is wrong. It's just my interpretation, and I welcome your discussion and the opportunity to understand your perspective. So, if at any point you disagree or even agree with my workings, feel free to add to the conversation. With that said, let's get started.
The Last of Us is the story of Joel and Ellie, these two kind of very different survivors that are trying to make their way through a United States that has been ravaged by this pandemic, how they learn to trust each other over time, and really wanted to see this evolution of this bond that they form over the entire course of the game.
For those that don't know, this is Neil Druckmann. He's the writer of The Last of Us as well as the director, and he plays a key role in understanding Ellie. This isn't to minimize the contributions of Bruce Straley and Hallie Gross, but this story and its characters seem to very much belong to Neil. So, if you'll allow me but a moment to digress. Neil was born in the late 70s in Tel Aviv on the West Bank. According to his 2019 interview with GQ, violence was a constant presence in his life. Whether it was talked about or witnessed, it occupied his thoughts in one way or another. In that same interview, Neil talks about watching a video on the news sometime after he'd moved to the US. The video was a lynching. He talks about the intense hatred that he felt towards the perpetrators and things that he only wished he could do to them. By the way that Neil talks, he gives the impression that he understands violence well. Not that he is violent, but that he is familiar with it, knows the emotions it evokes within us. He even says that he finds it easier to write about the terrible violence of life and can struggle with softer subjects like romance, which is a large reason for the addition of Hallie Gross on the writing team for The Last of Us Part 2. She provides insight into the female perspective as well as a guiding hand for Neil through the complexities of love and romance. Many will assume that a writer must be endlessly versatile, that they should be able to write effortlessly about the infinite possibilities, the winding, branching paths that their creations might journey along. But in reality, you can only write what you know. Sure, you dress the setting however you like in order to engage or even distract the audience, but your characters will often end up being reflections of you, even when you try desperately to avoid that. Some people write for money, yes, they flick their wrist until the ink dries up or they mash away at their keyboard until they hit a word count. The Last of Us doesn't feel like that though. Joel and Ellie and Abby, none of them feel like that. They are rough and dirty and imperfect. They're honest. They are fragments of Neil, Bruce, and Hallie. Neil explains that his original concept of The Last of Us spawned from empathizing with the struggle of his parents trying to protect their family, wondering what it must feel like to have that dread and pressure, then adapting it to a father and daughter in a lush, blooming, and deeply oppressed fantasy. The Last of Us is the manifestation of Neil's gratitude and an exploration of his lingering hatred. So, with an admittedly surface level understanding of the creator, we can now start to apply and pair this with motivators spread about Ellie's story. Why does she obsess over her vendetta, even when it's clear that her actions are immoral and vicious? She endangers the lives of those she cares about for the name of some kind of twisted justice, but it isn't. It's self serving and borders psychosis. On Ellie's rampage, she murders dozens, if not hundreds, of people. They might not be good, but they are people. And through context supplied by the game's narrative and gameplay, most of them are cared about, loved even. She bludgeons a woman to death while she chokes and her lungs fill with spores. She stabs a pregnant woman in the neck after shooting the father in the chest. She abandons the woman that she loves and her surrogate child to rejoin this game of cat and mouse long after it had ended, even though it is very clear that the cat has bested the mouse. At every turn after Joel's murder, Ellie has made one poor decision after another, each making you feel a deeper sense of sorrow and pity than the last. And it all makes perfect sense. In that house in the middle of the forest, when Ellie is only 14 and she has run away, she means what she says. Everyone she has ever cared about has either died or left her. Her mother dies in labor. Riley is bitten and so is Ellie, but she survives, which sets off this constant ticking, this feeling of borrowed time, and a survivor's guilt. Marlene pushes her off to Joel and Tess to be forced to the other side of the country as an experiment. Just as she expresses gratitude towards her smugglers, Tess is dead. She is bitten and then filled with holes, leaking in the sunlight that breaches an open door. She meets a boy who she can share experiences with, but soon he's bitten, and she watches his brother succumb to his guilt after he is forced to put him down. Then the leftover smuggler, the one that's old and rough around the edges, says that he wants to be rid of her too. But this time she stands up for herself. She's honest and she's brave. She tells him in so many words that she cares for him, because she can see that he cares for her too. And to her surprise, he listens. He admits it in his own way, and for the first time in a very long time, Ellie is validated, made to feel as though she is worth loving, and that this borrowed time is a gift and she should relish in it. Then the old man nearly dies, and somehow she uses all her strength and determination to pull him from the frozen ground and carry him to safety. She cares for him, nurses him back to health, and is nearly eaten and worse for it. And like magic, there he is. From the grave, he has done all he can to try and save her. A little late, but it's the thought that counts. She's different after this. She's quieter, more serious. The cannibal has feasted on the last morsel of innocence that she has left. Now she has to grow again, but from a different perspective. She needs to learn to laugh again, because things aren't quite as funny as they used to be. Despite this, their bond is stronger. He has carried her to the edge of their world, and she has carried him. Then it's time. The ticking starts to slow, but she knows she can say when it stops, and this hospital bed is where she chooses. She knows this is the end. She wants it. This is something she can control. It will give it all meaning. The journey, all the death, the pain, and the suffering is all worth it, because she can save so many more. Prevent them from feeling what she has felt. Let them go back to worrying about boys and movies. She'll make that sacrifice. She wants to. But then the old man betrays her. Just one last time, because he is selfish and weaker than he knows. The one thing, the only thing she felt she could truly control is taken from her by the one person she trusts. And she hates him for it. She has every right to. So she pulls away, she avoids him, punishes him for what he's done. She knows he did it because he loves her, so desperately, and that for her, he would watch this world burn and bloom 1,000 times over. Still, she hates him for it. Then he dies. Savagely. Abby and crew find catharsis in Joel's death. They feel some hollow relief while Ellie's chest is pressed into the hardwood. She watches one of them spit on his corpse. Then everything goes black. This is how it starts. The killing, the death, the trauma that comes with it. This is when Neil really starts to explore. From this point on, each of Ellie's actions become more misguided and heinous than the last. She will do whatever it takes to claim vengeance. But why? It's not just because Abby beat Joel to death. That's just the catalyst. No, it's more than that. She hates Abby, but she hates herself more. Revenge is just a way to cope, a way to self-medicate. She's trying to stop the bleeding, and with each life that she reaps, she applies pressure. In the radio tower, just before her friends, Sam and Henry, die, she tells Sam that she's afraid of ending up alone. Now that Joel's gone, she feels that fear. Never mind Dina, Jesse, Tommy, any of them. Joel made her feel safe, and now he can't do that anymore. And she feels like she pushed him away. She's conflicted because she wanted to die on that hospital bed. She wanted her life to matter. for all the death and pain that she has seen and felt to be worth it. Perhaps something beautiful could have sprouted from it. Marlene knew that. She felt that. She'd known and cared for her since birth, but she still put the world first. Justified it by preaching it's what she would want. Not Joel, though. The world is nothing without Ellie. It is selfish, but it is unconditional love, and that is all that Ellie has ever really wanted. And so here lies the conflict. The man that has given her unconditional love that she so longed for has stolen the meaning and purpose from her life. With each life taken and each step closer to the final kill, Ellie applies more pressure to the wound. She grapples with a lingering threat to understand that she hated Joel for so long because he loved her. Time wasted because she couldn't forgive. Time that is lost. And for that she hates herself. She hates herself for the things that she has done in his name. On that beach, as she holds Abby's head under the water, both women are gaunt and hollow. One by choice and the other by force. There is blood in the water and a child in a boat. Abby is giving her life for Lev's, and Ellie hates her even more for this. This is something Joel would do for her, but she took Joel, and now something clicks into place. There's a flash in her mind, but this time it isn't gruesome and bloody. It's warm and hopeful. She sees the love that Joel had for her. She sees it in Abby and Lev. So before the light flickers and dies for good, she lets go. She understands how Joel could have been so selfish. She understands that even in this moment, her lowest moment, he would still love her, just as much as he ever had. She forgives him. Now she must try to forgive herself. Ellie's story is an exploration of the love and appreciation for all that those we love will do for us. It's an exploration of the hatred we feel for the evil that we find in the world, the guilt that we gain from it, and the pressure we put on ourselves for feeling it. The cycle that we feed to avoid confronting it, the time that it steals from us, time that could have been spent giving and feeling love. Or at least that's what it means to me. Hey there, I'm the guy that made the video you just watched. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Bradley. Thank you so much for taking time out of what I can only assume was a very busy day and watching this video. If you're on the couch, doing nothing, I respect it. Don't worry about that. No judgment here, okay? If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you didn't, that's cool. You don't have to pretend here. Don't touch the button. I would also appreciate if you maybe left a comment, just because I'm kind of interested to hear what people think about this game. I know it's been out for 3 years and everybody's had time to say their piece and we've all heard it, but I don't know. The game plays over in my mind every now and then. Every now and then it just kind of does something else, you know? I perceive it in a different way. So if you're anything like me, maybe your perception has changed. And I would love to hear what you think of my interpretation of the story. So yeah, leave something down below. Make sure it's nice and respectful. And let's have a conversation about it. I would like to make more of these videos in the future. I'm looking to do maybe one a month. That'd be great. That sounds doable. So if you'd like a bit more like gaming analysis / review content, hit the subscribe button. That'd be great. I'd really love that. Next video will be about Alan Wake 2. And for all you readers out there, did you like that? Alan Wake, because he's a writer? Wow. Could you believe that? Didn't even plan that one. Very impressed by that. Anyway, if you like reading, okay, I like writing. I've been trying to branch out a little bit. I want to do one short story every month as well. Also, for free, in the description is a link to a PDF file. You just click it, boom, there it is. It pops up on your screen. It's called Bloom. It's about 40 pages long. It's sci-fi, it's horror, and I'm heavily influenced by Lovecraft. So if you like Lovecraft, this is like that, but gotta be honest, a little bit easier to read. Okay. I like the guy, okay, but he talks a little bit too much about things that I don't understand, okay? I got a good vocabulary. This guy is something else, right? So this is an easier read. So, just to recap, I'm losing my train of thought. Just to recap, if you like this, subscribe, because I will be doing one video a month and one short story a month, both for free, okay? And the next one is about Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2. What a game. Alright, I'm going to finish this now. You can see my Sudocrem in the back. I'll see you next time. In the meantime, be good. Bye-bye.